formulators are mostly based in the West, and obviously the formulation is based on Caucasian skin. And then that formulation becomes the standard that everybody else uses, and they don't take skin of color into consideration.
She is just such an amazing human, and what she's trying to do for the skin of color community. I feel that she might actually be the first in the industry to focus a lot on skin of color.
Hello and welcome to the AstridSkin podcast. And I'm joined today by my two lovely colleagues. We have Ashmina. How are you, Ashmina?
Good. How are you doing, Seth?
Great. Thank you very much. And we also have Berry. How are you, Berry?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Now, we can see, the audience won't know this yet, but we can see that you are not in your normal location. So where are you?
No. I'm actually in England at the moment. I'm in London. Yeah.
Lovely. Enjoying the super sunshine and lovely warm weather, I no doubt.
Not really, but it's raining this whole week as per forecast. So it's raining this whole week. Yeah.
One would expect that, to be honest. Without further ado, let's make a start. So what are we here for today? Well, they say that you probably shouldn't meet your idols, but an interesting thing happened last week. Myself and Ash, we managed to meet one of Berry's idols. So, Berry, why don't you tell us a little bit about who that idol might be and why they are an idol of yours?
So very sadly for me, I could not go to meet Dr. Vanita Rattan at the Skin of Color Summit in Johannesburg on the 15th of February. And but yeah, the lovely team went. And you guys would probably tell a lot about your experience than what I did. But yeah, she is just such an amazing human, and what she's trying to do for the skin of color community. And I don't know, I feel that she might actually be the first in the industry to kind of focus a lot on skin of color. And that's how I came across her YouTube channel about 4 years ago, as you guys know, and it was absolutely enlightening. It was so educational. I've learned so much from what she is trying to, put out there, and the transparency and all of that. And I think she made a change for a lot of people out there, a change in their lives, not with just skincare, but in a financial point of view. Because a lot of people spend so much money, as we know, how much you could spend on your skincare. And a lot of the times it doesn't work. Then you have to chuck it in the bin. So yeah, it's just really wonderful to have that person that you can literally go to, or that channel that you can go to and learn a lot more and know. And she would give her honest opinion about a product or an ingredient. And that's what caught me, that's what, I kind of stayed on there and had a listen. And yeah, it's been probably more than 4 years now. And I really do feel that there's more people like that needed in this world, honestly. So yeah, it's not just for the game.
So you've been on quite a journey.
It has been quite a journey. It has been quite a learning experience for me as well, especially in the skin of color community. I mean, I'm a woman with skin of color. So I used to have a lot of hyperpigmentation and all of that. And gosh, I don't even feel the need to wear foundations and cover up anymore. So, it's just, it made a difference in my life, and it made a massive difference in my budget. So,
Indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're obviously you're describing yourself, and I would say you were similar to a lot of people in that audience today. And I think talking about the audience would be a great place for us to start. So actually, you and I were there. I must admit, on occasion, I felt a little bit outnumbered. We'll get to that, I'm sure. Yeah, what were your first impressions about the kind of people that we saw there?
Yeah, it was amazing, I must say. Just amazing to see the turnout, first of all, because it was a full house. They obviously sold every single ticket. And the people that came there, they were just so excited. We walked in and the whole place was just buzzing because everybody was just like waiting in anticipation to see Dr. V, to listen to what she had to say, to try on the new products, to purchase products. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. It was just so electric. People were really, really hyped up. And I think for them, it was really similar to your experience because they had gained quite a bit of information from her. So, I think it was just such anticipation on their part. A really, really good atmosphere.
How many people was there, do you think, if we could judge by them?
I would say there were at least 300 people, and I'm pretty sure there must have been many, many more that wanted to attend. But obviously, with the venue size, they had to limit the number of tickets. And I think just to organize an event of this size and then increase the numbers, which they had to do initially, at least 300 people were there.
The first round, I think, was maybe 100, 150 tickets. And then I know she had to come on social media and say, right, we need to up the ticket count. So we know that they definitely did that.
It was quite sad that, the Cape Town audience didn't get, because she did go to Durban and she went to Johannesburg. And it was quite sad to, that Cape Town didn't get that, that kind of conference or summit. But hopefully things will change. I think from what I gather, I think she kind of, what you guys have told me, I think she's kind of seen how many South African people are watching her and wanting to use her skincare as well, and are really, benefiting from what she's giving to the community. Hopefully next time.
I think that the audience in Johannesburg and Durban are quite a bit of skin of color, a lot of Indian community as well, and dark skin tones. So I think maybe they assumed that would be the best locations for the kind of turnout that they had. But definitely there was a lot of interest from Cape Town. I mean, we flew to Joburg to be there.
Yeah, we did. And so, Dr. V, if you're listening, please remember next time.
Don't forget Cape Town. Don't forget us.
Don't leave them out. There'll definitely be a really great turnout down in Cape Town as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
If she is able to make that happen. One thing that we have already spoken about a little bit is the demographics of people who are there. Obviously, the vast majority of people, skin of color. I'll also say another large majority was the number of females to males, which made it quite interesting for me. I mean, ahead of the event, I'd already thought, well, there's probably going to be more women there than men. And I don't know whether I'd even contemplate just how many. But I would say, on my count, I counted 4 guys in that room of, let's say, 300. I think I'm right in saying that. There may have been a camera guy as well there, but I think in the audience, I think there were 4 of us.
There were 4 of you, and in the audience, I think one husband, one boyfriend, one male on his own, and then of course there was you. There was a cameraman, and there was another gentleman there that was probably part of the Muse Beauty crew. So maybe 6 altogether, and a couple of staff that worked at the venue, but we barely saw a male presence there.
Which is interesting, and I think we'll probably pick that up a little bit later in the chat. But I found that interesting, not wholly surprising, but we were well represented in the Q&A, which we'll also get to in a second. But one thing I did feel about the crowd that were there, and a thing that probably ultimately surprised me a little bit, was just how prepared that crowd was to be open, in a way that I think alludes to Barry's point earlier. People feel like Dr. V is somebody that they know personally. So it
Yeah.
was almost like friends talking to their friend. And it
Yeah.
didn't seem to matter that the room
Yes.
was full of, 100, 200, 300 other strangers. People were really opened up during the event. And I found that to be quite a positive experience, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, on YouTube, when she does her YouTube channel, a lot of times on all her channels, on all her YouTube videos, she actually stays for about an hour, and she'll say that I'll
Right.
stay on an hour on YouTube, and if you have any questions, just pop it in the questions section, and I will answer it.
Yeah.
So she does that. She is there, and I think this is why people have that's why they feel that they know her. Also, the way she comes across, on YouTube as well, and all her channels, Instagram and Facebook, and she's on Facebook, she's on TikTok. And that she's not been on TikTok for as long as she's been on YouTube and all of that. But yeah, and people feel like they have a close connection with her, because these are genuine questions and genuine concerns that people have, and that they not really receive those answers to those questions. So yeah, it was quite interesting. Mhm.
Absolutely, and that's very much a highlight of the event, the Q&A. As we're talking about Dr. V, let's talk a little bit about the presentation itself, and the kind of presenter that she is. It very much, to me, matched how we see her on social media. Very kind of bright and engaging. But I felt there was a little bit more, that she was, again, like the audience, ready to kind of give up quite a lot about herself. Ash, how about from your point of view, what were the things about the presentation itself that really caught your attention?
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you said, she's very open to open up about herself. Her stage presence is amazing. She talks very much like she does during her videos. And so I also liked how structured her presentation was, and how she talked through the process of when she started her journey, when she herself personally in her 20s started suffering from melasma. And she spoke about what prompted her to start formulating products. And that was because products that she was using on her skin were not targeted for skin of color. They were targeted for a Caucasian skin. And it's quite interesting, something that she mentioned in the presentation was about the standard that exists globally. It's that formulators are mostly based in the West, and obviously the formulation is based on Caucasian skin. And then that formulation becomes the standard that everybody else uses, and they don't take skin of color into consideration. So that, I thought, was so important that she mentioned that, and the fact that she recognized that in her 20s, and she's 41 at the moment. So she recognizes in her 20s and decided, you know what, I can formulate, and I'm going to focus on skin of color, which I thought was amazing. It's very telling about the type of person that she is. It wasn't just to benefit her. It was about benefiting anyone that had a similar skin type.
That's very interesting, because as we know, a lot of these skincare brands out there, and a lot of the big brands, we know the Estee Lauders, we know the Clarins and all of that, they all formulate for Caucasian skin. So there is not really a dedicated skincare range or brand out there. Only in recent times now, probably the last 10 years. But I mean, most of the skincare ranges are tested and formulated for Caucasians. And Caucasian skin is very different to skin of color. They don't get hyperpigmentation as much as we do because of the melanin and all of that. So, I mean, these are things that we know. If you do have skin of color, these are things that you are aware of. I mean, as you know the troubles you have with just going into the sun for 5 minutes, hanging up doing something in
Sadly.
the garden, and if you're not prepared, you'll suffer the next day. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. Very good. Yeah.
Yes, so I think what was quite lovely about the presentation is how she focused on specific skincare concerns such as acne, melasma, hyperpigmentation, as you mentioned, and sunburn. And the presentation, the way it flowed was actually quite interesting because all of those concerns, they kind of tie into each other. So if you suffer from acne and you've got skin of color, it can actually lead to hyperpigmentation. If you get burned in the sun, if you've got skin of color, sunburn leads to hyperpigmentation. So the way she explained it, and I think this is what I really, really particularly enjoyed about the presentation, it's easy to understand, even though there's a lot of technical information that goes into it. There's a lot of information about ingredients that she went into, but the manner in which she explains all of these things was so informative. And, for us who weren't maybe following her as long as you have, Bernice, we actually understood what she was talking about. And the audience themselves, obviously also been following for many years, they were very, very knowledgeable and clued up on especially ingredients, which I thought was fascinating because I don't think...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't you think at points it was almost like being in a religious congregation? Like she would be about to say, so I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but she would be about to say either some kind of condition or some kind of ingredient, and the audience were right there every time.
Yes.
Almost like if you're in the Catholic Church and like the audience seems to know what to say at any given point. So, and she actually alluded to that a few times in the presentations because she'd done Durban a few days earlier. One of the things that had amused her at the time was just how much the audience were completing her sentences for her. So that was really funny.
Was it's just to come back to what you just said earlier about hyperpigmentation, and even ingredients that can lead to hyperpigmentation, not just the sun and the conditions, your outside conditions, but even like hydroquinone that leads to hyperpigmentation. And a lot of the people are treated by medical profession that, that is that difference between the skin of color and the Caucasian, that, it's okay for Caucasians to use hydroquinone, but for skin of color, we just have to do so much more research when we purchase a product, right? So that you kind of understand what's in it, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of time and effort, and from what I understood, what you guys were saying is she just simplifies things for everybody, and that is great, because there's nobody out there that's been simplifying things for people. To know that this is what you can use, this is what to stay away from, and this is what you can buy, and also understanding ingredients. I don't think a lot of people have never probably had that level of understanding ingredients. So, that's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think what also quite caught my attention was, like you said, the sharing of information on ingredients, as well as what ingredients she includes in her products. And not many people want to give away their trade secrets, but she's quite happy to let everybody know, this is what I put in it, and this is why I put it in that product, because it's targeting that specific skin concern that you may be having. And this is what's actually going to be the right thing for you to use. Because if you use something that's not right for you, specifically things that are not safe, it's going to cause, either it's going to make the problem worse, or it's going to give you a different kind of irritation that's going to become a different skincare concern for you. And that, I think, was a really important thing for everybody in the audience, because now that audience has a greater understanding of what they should and shouldn't be using on their faces or on their bodies. And they wouldn't have known that had it not been for her.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, Ash. I actually, we have her book, there's a lot of information also in there. It's actually something we should all have on our bookshelves, I feel. And she would actually mention it in there that doctors and formulators would say, why would you want to give out your secrets, you know? And she's like, well, why wouldn't I want to? I think this is things that people should know, you know, and understanding ingredients and products and what is good ingredients and what is bad ingredients. And that is obviously, that is something that I really admire of her, like, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it always seems to be for the good of the industry, and definitely for the good of the consumer ahead of any personal gain. I mean, there obviously is personal gain in there. She is a formulator. She is running her own brand and channel, but
Mm.
it is such a novel thing to see somebody willing to give up so much that they don't technically have to. So I really admired that.
And the one thing I can also mention regarding formulating is that she obviously formulates, and she talks about on her channel. She also talks about products, ingredients, what the good ones, as we mentioned earlier, the good and the bad, and she gives her honest opinion about every single product. She doesn't get any funds from it, or she will always say, like, I don't get paid for any of this. I don't want to get paid. So what she'll say is my honest thoughts about a product. So the one thing I can mention is brands are listening, because she has reviewed, I'm not going to mention any names, but I have noticed she reviewed a certain product and say, I would not recommend this product. And this is the reason why. It could be the way it's formulated, or it could be even the way it is packaged. You know, we know about, the vitamin C and retinol and how they are light and oxygen sensitive. I would not recommend having it in a non-airless pump and all of that. And sometime later, you'll go to that brand and they have fixed it. They fixed that problem. So that is also so great to see that people are listening. Brands are listening to what she's saying.
Okay. Well, speaking of her honest feedback, why don't we touch a little bit then on the Q&A, which was, wow, it was lengthy. The presentation itself was about an hour, and following that, we had pretty much the same amount of time for Q&A. Lots of people got to ask some very intelligent questions. More to come on that later. But what amazed me was just the amount of time that they dedicated to that session, and the number of people they were therefore able to get around. Because frankly, I think if she'd have had a full 24 hours, every single person in there was ready to ask a question. So we can probably mention Muse Beauty and Tasneem at this point, because Muse Beauty were running the event, and Tasneem was the kind of main person from Muse Beauty doing that. It kind of felt on her responsibility to manage a lot of the Q&A and who to get around. And she ended up doing quite an interesting system of how to tackle that. But yeah, they got through an enormous amount of questions and answers. And you never felt rushed. So I don't know, Ash, if you felt the same, but it really didn't feel rushed. And I know there were even some people who asked multiple questions. So what did you think just in general about the Q&A?
I think they managed it very, very well. Like you said, Tasneem from Muse Beauty, she kind of helped with that process by splitting the hall into 4. So in each section, she was able to allocate a certain amount of time per section to answering the questions. And she was also sort of like managing how long, if, people were going a little bit longer, and just looking out for the next person. She was directing Dr. V in that route to follow, to speak to people. And some rows like ours had, managed to get in 5 people asking questions.
Right.
And some people had papers with questions written down.
Yep.
And
They
some
had come
even
prepared.
they were very
Yeah.
prepared, and some even came with products that they were using, to ask
Wow.
questions about it as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow,
Yeah.
that's really great. Yeah. From what I understand, what you guys are telling me, it was almost like a consultation, of
Really was.
almost 300 people.
It was incredible. And, she listened to what people were saying on the spot, was able to make some really good judgments about their condition, give some really good advice. And I just found that I'm not a skeptic,
All right.
really. I can be a little bit skeptical at heart. So, you always have a little bit of concern that these might be a little bit light touch. They might be unconvincing. But I must admit, I dropped any thoughts of those, that kind very early on in the presentation, and certainly in the Q&A. This is a really knowledgeable person,
Wow.
somebody who is very good at listening and
Yeah.
is very good at giving sensible and considered feedback. It wasn't just throwaway, oh, yes, you need to do this or you need to do that. There was a real sense of an understanding of the conditions that she's talking about.
So, Sid, you also, we'll come back to your question, but what was the other people's question, the other men's questions? Because that's quite interesting. Men asking, we know what women are their concerns because they're very vocal. But what was the other guy's question? Yeah.
He actually asked about growth factor technology. So I think he also seemed to know quite a bit, and maybe that's why he was in attendance, because he's obviously got a good understanding of like the products and the
Okay.
ingredients, and he's clearly interested in his skincare. I was sitting behind him and he had nice skin. So.
Right. Oh, right. And was it a specific product, like a brand, or which brand was it?
No, not a particular brand, just about growth factor technology. And as I'm aware at the moment, The Ordinary just recently launched a growth factor serum. So that's possibly where the question came from, because it's been really trending on social media recently.
And your question, Seth, let's hear. Did you get your question answered to your satisfaction?
I did, very much so. My question, I got to ask about formulating and the differences between how to formulate for men and women. Because I genuinely didn't know how she would approach this, whether she has to make any changes. And she gave quite a clear response about the differences between male and female skin, and that she does have to factor that in when formulating. Now, I got the impression that obviously she recognizes most of her customer base is going to be women. That's just the way it is. So that is obviously the main focus for her. But she definitely does account for it. And it was interesting to hear her talk about that in her response.
So what did she say in the end about the difference between formulating for men and women?
Yes, well, largely it was about a thicker dermis for men.
Okay.
That's
Right.
a new thing that I learned. And the fact that because of that, what tends to happen is that men won't show their age in their wrinkles and lines until a lot later. And then when it happens quickly.
It's
So
sudden.
we go off a
Yes.
cliff, apparently. So I'm looking forward to that moment. I would say I'm not fully as old as
No.
I may
For
have.
almost, I don't know if you want to reveal your age, but
Yeah, well, 50 next birthday, so we'll see at what point my cliff face comes, and
we will
just
definitely, we'll keep an eye on you. We'll
we
keep an
will
eye on you.
we shall. So I'm not looking forward to that moment, but yeah, for now, the reason why I'm still looking as youthful as I do apparently is because I have a thick dermis.
Right. So, and how do you feel about upping your skincare routine? Using skincare.
Well, this is a thing. So I will trail that. This is something that will be appearing on our channel. So if you're enjoying what you see, and if you want to find out more about my skincare routine, then definitely make sure you're following, liking, and subscribing. So I do next to nothing at the moment, which is a bit of an embarrassment. It's not something I've naturally been used to doing, but I am being persuaded by my lovely colleagues that this is definitely something that I should be paying a lot more attention to. And to be fair, from that event, I came away thinking it's definitely nothing to be kind of embarrassed about in any way as a guy, and that it's actually sensible to be thinking about it and to be taking some care. It's not purely about cosmetics and looking good, but it's also about how you feel. And kind of bringing that full circle back to the audience, there were a lot of people in that room who you can tell were not super confident at one point, and they've taken steps, and that has made a change in them, and that they were confident. They could stand up in front of that room, and even people with some problematic skin conditions, they stood up in front of that room. They exposed themselves, not physically, they exposed themselves to the room, talking about their issue, but without any sense of shame about it. And full well that in the past there would have been a lot of shame, but this forum now exists for people to talk about their skin, talk about how it makes them feel. So I found that really, really quite interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the important thing for men is the difference between men and women, and as she said about men having a thicker dermis and a more muscly skin, is that you don't need to use a lot of products like us women do. I think for us women, it's more therapeutic, when you do your skincare routine. So it's almost like your me time, that me moment as well. So that's why women probably enjoy it a lot more. For men, it's just getting what they need to get out of their skincare routine. They want to get the, doing what they need to do and out by the door. That's what guys are, interested in. Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I speak for all men on this, but I definitely, no matter what my skincare regime looks in a year's time, it is not going to take me a long time. There is no way that I'll be sitting down for hours, trying different things. So yeah, and that must be a challenge as a formulator to think about
It is.
those different approaches that people want to take. And I know recently Dr. V had a video where they were doing their getting ready in 1 minute, which was quite funny to watch. That's the kind of zone that I want to be in terms of
it
how
was
long my skincare.
actually the one you're talking about. It was actually her makeup artist, and they were doing a makeup routine. Because if you look at our routines in the morning, this is why men ask, like, why do you take so long? You have to do your skincare, and then you have to do your makeup, and it's using less makeup. And she was promoting, obviously, concealer, and what her makeup artist would do versus what she would do in the morning to get ready and putting on makeup and all that. So it's quite funny. But I think for what some men do love that, they love putting on their moisturizers and having all the serums and all of that. And some men don't, and that's okay. For me, I would just say again, sorry, Seth.
This guy very much does
No,
not.
yeah, you don't. But what I would just advise is that just use your key actives. Make sure you're getting those key actives. It doesn't have to be a big range of products, but make sure that what you are trying to achieve from your skin, and your concerns, and target those things, right? And if you're using your cleansers and you don't need a toner, maybe that's an extra step that you can skip. But if you're using a good cleanser and you need one cleanser, and just double cleanse with that cleanser, because you don't look at removing makeup, so you don't need your oily cleansers, but just using a really good gel cleanser, and then using a really good serum, depending on what you want to achieve. If it's aging, your retinol, your vitamin C, If you're dealing with hyperpigmentation, your alpha-arbutin, and your niacinamide and all of that, and get a product that kind of has an all-rounder, Then you need your one serum in the day and one serum at night. And then you use a good moisturizer that you can use day and night. And the
People taking notes.
important thing,
I was about to
exactly,
say
the
that
most
you should be
important
making
thing.
notes, Seth,
Yeah,
because you need to
exactly.
start your routine like really, really soon, because otherwise you're going
The
to
cliff
get this.
face is coming.
Yes. Well, you've recorded
Exactly.
this,
It's
so
going to have that fall. Exactly. And your most important thing I would say is have a good sunscreen. That is
Yeah.
key. A lot of good sunscreens already have those good actives in as well. So if you look at a sunscreen that has great actives in there, great niacinamide and all of that, there's a lot of sunscreen out there, mineral sunscreen that contains that. So you're already getting those ingredients from that product and that sunscreen, and you both at the same time. So that's and that's all you need really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the sunscreen point is a really important one. Obviously, that that's about health, and that's about staying safe. So, as much as I can miss the odd day when I am outside in the sun without putting sunscreen on, that's something that I am starting to learn and take a lot more seriously.
Yeah. So you don't want to regret it, at a later stage, and say, oh, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? So, prevention is cure, as they say. So, it's important.
yeah, no, definitely prevention is better than cure. And talking about sunscreen, that's something that they actually delved into during the presentation. And what Sid mentioned earlier about people just knowing what she was about to say next, when she talked about, and what are the two types of sunscreens out there? And everybody kind of just shouted out, it's the mineral and the chemical. And which one do we want to use? Which one don't we want to use? And everybody answered chemical. So I think, that learning experience that people have gained from watching Dr. V really, really showed during her presentation and during the Q&A, with people being so prepared and so knowledgeable because of her.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, from what I gathered as well, as she talked about, the alcohol factor, because we all need to stay away from denatured alcohol and the fragrance and the essential oils, but not to mistake the fatty alcohol from your denatured alcohol. Your short grain from your fatty alcohol. So it's the denatured alcohol that is the bad alcohols. But there is a difference, because you get your fatty alcohols, and that is safe to use. So yeah, it's all about like literally reading the back of the box, and seeing what's really in there. And making that a habit of reading we are very concerned about what we put into our body. And we've learned all through all these years now that to have a look at what's in a product or in a food item that you are purchasing, in store, and turning the packet around and having a look. But we really need to start doing that with our skincare as well. And I think this is where that educational part comes in from her side, is making people aware that not just because it's trending on social media and people are saying, use this, use that, it's trending, or, people get paid for that. Literally, it's your responsibility and our own responsibility to know what you are putting onto your skin. So we need to make that effort and look at what we are using and what is in that specific product that you are purchasing.
Okay, so that was the bulk of the event. Obviously, we had the presentation section and the Q&A, and that was really engaging for the whole 2 hours that it ended up being. The rest of the event, there was like a meet and greet section. So this was after the event. Obviously, Dr. V and Tasneem were there to engage with the audience a little bit, and also to do a selfie session as well. Now,
which I'm so sad I missed out on.
Well, we got a great photo of myself and Ash with Dr. V. I'm slightly towering above both of them, but that's another
I
story.
can see.
But again, remarkable, even after a long session like that. She you have to do that smile in selfies. You know that she's probably
Yes.
a little bit tired, but she stuck
Mm.
around. She was a bit of a trooper, to be fair, and I was very
Yeah.
impressed that she still stuck around because there was a hell of a queue, Ash, wasn't there, for that selfie?
It was a long, long queue, and we were really towards the end of the queue because we were kind of back and forth, trying to see where else we could go and engage somewhere else, and then came back to the queue. And as Seth said, she really, really did have a continuous smile on her face. She did chat to some people. And going back to what we talked about earlier when we started the session, was about Cape Town, and we mentioned I had to put it out there and say,
You have to get Cape Town in.
we traveled, we made the effort to come all the way from Cape Town to Johannesburg, and she was very, very, like, she interacted with us. She's like, oh, Cape Town's lovely. I had my honeymoon there, and she and Tasneem both said that they would definitely put Cape Town on the cards the next time. And she said, Dr. V herself said that a lot of people were not happy that she wasn't having a session in Cape Town, and she's definitely got that in mind for the next time. So hopefully next time there will be one in Cape Town, and you'll still be able to attend that one as well.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's great. That's really great. And did you have an opportunity as well to test some of the products?
So they had a few makeup stations set up with makeup artists there that were getting people an opportunity to test the concealer that she recently launched. And they were very, very long queues. I think we've got some video and photographs of the queues that were waiting to do the testing of the concealer. And of course, as you know, I have very dark circles under my eyes. So I was really, really interested to test the concealer, especially being Indian with skin of color and dark circles. And very, very often I cannot match a concealer to my under eye dark circles. So I really, really wanted to try this out because I believe that she's created something that really focuses on our skin tones. And and the queues was so long. I mean, and each makeup artist was taking their time to help each person individually get an opportunity to try the product, to test it so that they could make the right choice, which I think is so important. Over the years, I've gone to the department stores, I've gone to cosmetic counters, and most of the time, I'm not matched correctly, not with concealer, not with foundation, and it's a waste of money in my opinion. So I was quite keen to do that, but unfortunately there just wasn't enough time because, they had to at some point end the event, and the queues were going to be too long. So I unfortunately didn't get to try the concealer, but I did go to the table where they were selling products, and they did have testers available on the table, and they were quite happy to explain to people, what products were there. And I think it was that I managed to get a chance to test the C Prep serum on my hand.
Okay.
And it's got a beautiful, luxurious texture. But there were, again, a lot of people. You'll see from the videos, you'll see from the photographs, a lot of people waiting to test the skincare products and to make purchases as well. So I think, perhaps there could have been a little bit more time available for the testing of the concealers. And I am assuming that they didn't anticipate such a huge demand for both products and for testing. So I think this is a good opportunity for them to look at how they do the next event by having maybe a little bit of extra space available for that, and a few extra makeup artists for testing the concealers, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was quite eye-opening for them, probably, how many people were very interested and the demand, especially with concealers and stuff. So I can totally, I get what you're saying. And and a lot of people with kind of melasma or hyperpigmentation, it does happen in that area. You know, it is in this area where the sun is so exposed on this area. So that is kind of where your concealer and that would sit, you know. So, yeah, I can totally understand what you're going through.
Yeah. What I was really excited about, though, was the free gift that we received, which I think is an incredibly generous gift for the price of the tickets, for the number of people that were attending. It was the eye cream from Dr. V, which is an amazing product. It's really for targeted for under eye circles and for skin of color. And it's got a lovely texture. It feels amazing. And I have started using it, but obviously these things take a bit of time to show results. But I mean, before we went to the event, that was one of the things that was on my radar to purchase. And so to have that as a free gift was such a bonus. I'm so excited to have it, really. It was such a nice gift.
I can imagine. I mean, if you just look at it was about 200 Rand a ticket. And then the eye cream is about 1,000 Rand for the eye cream alone.
Yeah.
So, and then you got a free consultation and information, and you know, so the value of that event was just absolutely amazing. You know, it was definitely worth every single penny. Yeah,
absolutely. Really good value for money, based on the price of the ticket. And as you said, the price of the item itself, it's extremely generous, which, you know.
Thank you, Dr. V.
Definitely, thank you, Dr. V.
So this is notwithstanding. Also, there was some food there available, and a few canapé type snacks, drinks, beverages, you know, that kind of thing as well. So all in all, the event was really well managed. The location itself was lovely. Killarney Country Club in Johannesburg, so a lovely backdrop, nice golf course there. And apart from quite an odd event that happened halfway through the session as well, which was just kind of demonstrated what a pro Dr. V is. We had what I think we ultimately found out was a thunderstorm alarm that went off.
Really?
Yeah, which sounded like we might be about to suffer an air raid, which in modern political times is probably a little bit too close to the bone. But yeah, basically an air raid siren went off midway through the Q&A. And apparently, I think, Ash, you managed to be the detective on this one. And you found out that this could have been a thunderstorm alarm for the golf course.
Yes, I think it was just a warning about lightning. So obviously in Johannesburg and the Highveld area, they do get a lot of thunderstorms, which means lightning as well. And if you've got people playing golf on a golf course during a lightning storm, a thunderstorm with lightning,
you need to be getting out of the way.
Yeah, so that siren went off mid-question. And, you know, everybody turned around and there was just like kind of a buzz, and we were all shushing each other because she was still talking, and she stopped for a moment. Somebody told her what it was. She waited a couple of seconds, and then she just took off and picked up from where she left so professionally. So yeah, like she knows how to deal with people and handle herself in all kinds of situations.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, ladies, I think we covered a huge amount there. We hope people found that valuable. In summary, I was really surprised by the event. I'm really glad I ended up going. And I came away from there feeling a lot more knowledgeable about things, which I'm sure is one of the points she's trying to get across. But also, I enjoyed the experience more than I thought I would. I can't quite put my finger on exactly why, but I think it was just, you know, she's a great presenter. There's no denying that. You know, all the work she's put in on her YouTube channel and other social media, you can tell that she has learned from that and she knows how to deliver her content. She's really confident about it and, you know, knows how to engage with an audience, even in a live setting like that. So I don't know how many other live events that she has done in her time, but, you know, it looks professional. So that's a huge help. And also, she was there to engage with people. and be open and honest. And I think that is always in itself quite a good watch. So, yeah, I mean, for somebody like me who traditionally hasn't had an interest in skincare, I managed to get through 2 hours without, feeling bored or drifting off, and which surprised me. And
That's
it
good.
probably surprised you as well, Ash, didn't
Yes.
Yes, that's really great.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was quite impressed. Seth was very much involved, engaged the whole time, which was wonderful. And so was I. I mean, I also had no idea what to expect going into the event. And I must say, based on the way the audience reacted, the way you've spoken about her, I didn't quite understand it entirely until I was in that event and got to see it firsthand. And now I completely understand what all the excitement is about her. It's got a lot to do with the fact that she's got an amazing personality, and that comes across while she's presenting,
Yes.
while she's speaking, while she's interacting and engaging with people. So I definitely left there feeling, as Seth also mentioned, quite more knowledgeable about skincare and ingredients. But I'm a converted fan now.
That's really great. I'm so glad that you guys have enjoyed that experience, and that's it's really also something that other people probably very much wanted and needed. So people that attended. So that's great.
Well, thank you very much both. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us on this inaugural Astrid Pod. So there'll be plenty more of this stuff to come, and really looking forward to hearing your feedback, your comments. Were you there? If you were, let us know. It'd be great to see how you felt about the event too. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe to the channel for plenty more of this.